8.1 Angles of Rotation Practice Solutions. For the first 4 problems, we are asked to draw an angle with the given measurements in standard position. So what I've done already is gone and given myself my coordinate planes, so that way I have my 0, 90, 180, 270, 360 degrees, and that's going counterclockwise, starting at your positive x-axis. If I'm dealing with a negative angle, I'm going to work clockwise, starting at my positive x-axis, and it will go 0, then negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, negative 360. All right, so for number 2, we're working with 60 degrees. So 60 degrees, we're going to start with our first side length, that is our initial side length, on our positive x-axis. From there, we are going to move that terminal side length up and to the right, like up and to the left, so that way we represent that positive angle. That 60 degrees is about here, and then we are going to make sure that we represent the fact that that is 60 degrees. So we draw our angle on the way that our arrow on the way that that angle is opening, and label it 60 degrees. For example 3, we have negative 135 degrees. So we're going to start with our first side, our initial side, at that positive x-axis, and then we are going to work down because it is negative. So we're going to go down and to the left, and we're going to have our angle about here. So our terminal side is about here, and then we give our arrow representing the way that it's opening with the degree measurement. From here, for number 4, we have 450 degrees. So again, we're going to start at that positive x-axis. This is going to go a full round, a full circle around to get the 360 degrees. And then from there, our 450 is actually on that positive y-axis. So our arrow would just go up, or our other side length would just go up. So we're going to draw our angle around once and to that second side length, and then represent that as 450 degrees. For 5, we have a negative 1,125 degrees. So we're going to do this. We're going to go around once to get to negative 360, then twice to negative 720, and then the third time we get around to negative 1,080. So from there, we're going to go around almost a full another time. Well, not really another time, but almost another time to get to the angle that we're looking for. So again, we went around going this way. We're going around once to get to negative 360. Then we're going to go around twice to get to negative 720. Then we're going to go around 3 times to get to negative 1,080. From there, that other side length is going to be around this position to give us that angle. So when we draw our arrow, we're going around once, twice, 3 times, and to that other side length. And then we're going to be writing inside here, in this space here, our negative 1,125 degrees. If we look at examples 6 through 9, our directions tell us to find the measures of a positive angle and a negative angle that are coterminal with each given angle. So remember, we're going to start with the angle that we have here. We're going to add 360 to get that positive, then we're going to subtract 360 to get that negative. If one of these two don't work, then we have to make sure that we keep subtracting or keep adding to get the positive and the negative. So for 6, we have 75 degrees. So to get our positive coterminal angle, we're going to start with the 75. We're going to add 360. So the 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 6 is 13. 3 plus 1 is 4. So our positive coterminal angle for this one is 435 degrees. For our negative, we're going to have 75 minus 360. So again, this is the same exact thing as saying keep the negative, subtract the 2. So the 0 would become a 10, the 6 would become a 5, the 5 would become a 15, making the 3 a 2. So we're keeping the negative. 10 minus 5 is 5. The 15 minus 7 gives us 8, not 6, 8. Why is this moving? 8. And then the 2 minus 0 is 2. So this is negative 285 degrees. So both of these are answers. Our positive is the 435 and the negative is the negative 285. For 7, we have 720 degrees. So what we can do with this is we can add the 360 to get our positive coterminal. So the 0 plus 0 is 0, 6 plus 2 is 8, and 7 plus 3 is 10. So 1080 degrees is our positive coterminal angle. Our negative coterminal angle, if we subtract 360 from 720, we get 360. Now, that's not a negative angle, so subtract 360 from that again. 360 minus 360 is 0. Well, 0 is neither positive nor negative, so we have to then subtract 360 from this once more to get negative 360 degrees. So our two answers here are 1080 and negative 360 degrees. For 8, we have negative 25 degrees. So we're going to start by finding our positive coterminal angle to give the negative 25 plus 360. Again, these are opposites, so we are going to subtract. So we're going to do 360 minus 25. The 0 becomes a 10. The 6 becomes a 5. So the 335 is our positive coterminal angle. For our negative, we're going to have negative 25 minus 360. Our two signs are the same, so we're going to keep the sign and add the numbers. 5 plus 0 is 5, 6 plus 2 is 8, and 3 plus nothing is 3. So negative 385 degrees is that negative coterminal angle. For 9, we have negative 390. So we're going to first add the 390 with the negative 390 with the 360 to get our positive. Negative 390 plus 360. These are opposite signs of one another, so we're going to keep the sign on the larger number, which is negative, and subtract the 2, so that's going to give us negative 30. This is still not positive, so we want to add that 360 to this negative 30 one more time to get a positive angle. So the 0 is going to stay. The 6 minus 3 is 3, and the 3 minus 0 is 3. So positive 330 is the positive coterminal angle. To find our negative coterminal angle, we're going to take that negative 390 and subtract 360 from it. So same signs, keep the sign, add the numbers. 0, 9 plus 6 is 15, 3 plus 3 plus 1 is 7, so that's negative 750 degrees. For 10 through 17, we are finding the measure of the reference angle for each of these. So we are going to either be adding or subtracting 180 or 360 from these numbers. So the number 10, we have the angle 95 degrees. So think about this. If you did 180 minus 95, are you going to get an acute angle? Remember, with all of these answers, they should be positive acute angles. So if we did this 0 would become a 10, the 8 would become a 7, then becoming a 17, making the 0 1. So this 10 minus 5 is 5, 17 minus 9 is 8. This 85 degrees is an acute angle, so we do not have to work any further for this one. For 11, we have negative 250 degrees. So if we take that 180 and subtract the negative, really what we can do is we can turn this negative 250 into a positive and then subtract the negative 180 or vice versa with the 360, so that way you get your angles. But if we do this, we are going to have the 250 minus 180, so the zeros stay a 0, the 5 would become a 15, the 2 would become a 1. So 15 minus 8 then is 7. So that 70 degrees is an acute angle. We would keep that. If we did the 360, we would get 110, and that's not an acute angle. So again, that's why we're working with the 180 first, seeing if that works. If it does, then we don't have to go any further. For 12, we have 230 degrees. So I'm going to take the 230, and I'm going to subtract 180 from it to see if I get an acute angle. The 0 minus 0 is 0. The 3 turns into a 13. The 2 becomes a 1. 13 minus 8 is 5. 1 minus 1 is 0, so 50 degrees. That's an acute angle. I don't have to go any further. For 13, we have negative 160. So again, I'm going to start with the negative 160. I'm going to add 180 to that. I get 20 degrees. That is an acute angle, so I do not have to check the 360. For 14, we have 345. So we're going to start with the 345. If we subtract 180 from this, the 5 minus 0 is 5. 4 turns into a 14. 3 turns into a 2. So 14 minus 8 gives us 6. And then the 2 minus 1 is 1. 165 degrees is not an acute angle, so we are going to try 360 from this. So if we did 360 minus 345, the 0 becomes a 10, 6 becomes a 5. 10 minus 5 is 5, and 5 minus 4 is 1. So 15 degrees is a positive acute angle. We're good. For 15, we have negative 130 degrees. So again, we're going to start with the 180, subtract the 130 from it, or we could have done negative 130 plus 80. We're going to get the same answer. So the zeros stay 0. 8 minus 3 is 5. 1 minus 1 is 0. So 50 degrees is a positive acute angle. We'll keep that. For our last two, number 16, we have 15 degrees. So for this one, we are going to try 180. If we try 360 as well, we're not going to get positive acute angles. So we can work with 90 degrees as well. So if we do 90 minus 15, this 0 becomes a 10, 9 becomes an 8. So 10 minus 5 is 5, 8 minus 1 is 7. 75 is an acute angle, so that's what the number that we'll go with. Think about it. If you did 180 minus 15, this would become a 10, this becomes a 7. So 5, 6, 165. That's not an acute angle. And then if you went up from there, that 360 minus 15, it's the same thing. This becomes a 10, this becomes a 5, so 345, that's not an acute angle either. So neither of the 180 or the 360 for this instance will work. For number 17, you have 220 degrees. So we're going to start with the 180. So 220 minus 180. The zeros stay. The 2 becomes a 12. The second 2 becomes a 1. So 12 minus 8 is 4. So 40 degrees is an acute angle. We're done.